Alright, I'm out in Tahoe right now, but I figured I'd give you guys a good rundown of dyno stuff and when to do dyno tuning. Okay, this real quick one. Let's throw a sweater down so I can get your full attention. When do you want to go to a dyno calibration? Okay, you should do some sort of street testing. Let's say wastegate pressure. Let's do cruising on a highway. We should do something to the effect of you nailed the calibration up into a point of, let's say, normalcy, okay? That normalcy point, and if you don't do this before your dyno, what ends up happening is during the dyno session, you're going to blow off couplers, you're going to blow off vacuum lines, you're going to blow off all these problematic items, and then not realize that you have a boost control issue or something very simple in regards to the vehicle operation. I think that it's very, very important to spend the time ahead of when you're scheduling, let's say, $250 an hour for a dyno session for a dyno pack. It seems very counterintuitive to be going with something that's a non-cost effective method of calibrating your vehicle. So with, I'll say, all of my clients except for maybe shop cars, you're always getting run through properly before we do anything. We're actually testing limits of the vehicle. Now, that is the better approach. That's where you're able to find limits slowly. On the dyno, you want to be testing the equivalence of a road tune, right? So guess what? If you spend the time on the road, you're going to say, hey, my AFRs are perfect from, let's say, idle to 5,500 RPM, from cruise to 14 pounds of boost, and it's perfect. And if you see an offset in the dyno, you can now calibrate that offset based on what you just learned from the dyno. So the dyno's showing it's 3% lean here, it's loading up the car more so than the road. And if it's vice versa, of course, now you're saying, okay, it's loading up less than the road, which is more common actually. So when you go to make your, let's say higher power type runs, you're now doing a, let's say, 3% compensation to do that, to compensate from dyno to road. And that can usually be a linear relationship, or at least relatively close, something like that. So, dyno tuning in a nutshell. Always, always, always do street tuning, do all your base map type stuff, do all your testing and procedural stuff for each sensor and each data point that you're trying to adjust. Whether that be boost control or what have you. Just these are simple things that you spend the time, and it makes a world of a difference before you go to a place where you're going to be pushing the limits of your vehicle. Prime example, I've had two cars, I won't say where, I won't say when, but very recently, that have had wideband issues. And I'm like, well, I can't tune the car if it's got a wideband issue. It's either got an exhaust leak that's massive, an injector imbalance that's like fucking horrible. We're talking like 0% correction to 8% correction instantaneously. So I know for a fact that's a wideband issue because I've tested it. But a lot of people will go to the dyno and be like, oh yeah, well, I don't know what to test. And as an engine calibrator, you want to have solidified data to work from, so I understand, these are my normal values for this given limit. And so if I don't have those, then I can't push the vehicle. It's that simple. So give me something to work with. For all my clients, you guys know I spend time on the street. I spend time setting up everything before we get to the dyno. And I just hope that others are doing this for you. And if they're not, catch them on their shit, because that's very, very important to spend this time ahead of the dyno. If you're limping a car to the dyno just to hit the dyno and figure it out, you probably don't know what the fuck you're doing. All right, I'll leave it at that. So I have my exhausted, hazy eyes, drove all day. There's our beautiful Tahoe, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. Hope you enjoyed that. Kept it nice and short this time. Cheers, y'all.